Hello. So, obviously I'm on for a stream at the moment. There wasn't going to be a particular theme for this one, but because I've had so many weird Corona comments again, I thought it might be interesting to do a stream where people can talk about Corona. And as long as people don't start talking about completely dangerous, made-up information, I'd be happy to hear their points on it. You know, well, that's normally the case anyway. But you know, because I got all those sort of things like, oh, they're trying to, you're trying to censor us. You know, wake up, sheep, all this sort of stuff. From like, if you didn't see, I actually turned the comments off on that new video before it went live because I thought that would happen. So then I started getting the same comments, on other videos. Basically, you're trying to censor us. You turned off the comments because you're scared of the truth and all this sort of stuff. Yep. It's that one in the background. I've got it set to Rontgens, so it's on 15 micro Rontgens at the moment, which is about 0.15 millisieverts. And I've also got this one on, because I'll definitely be wearing one of these when I'm going around Windscale, hopefully this week at some point. And yeah, I'll be taking this one, maybe a couple of others. I definitely think it'll get worse during the winter. I mean, part of the problem's going to be during the winter is if we get a bad flu season anyway, you're going to get combined flu deaths, corona deaths, and then people who are weaker from having one, maybe being knocked off by the other ones. Is a prion virus like the thing like mad cow disease and all those? They're not technically a virus, are they, prions? But it's like, yeah, a misfolded protein, isn't it? I don't know much about them other than the fact they're a pretty scary thing. If you get something like mad cow or Creutzfeldt-Jakob, whatever it's called, Creutzfeldt-Jakob, is it? Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. I always know it's CJ disease or whatever. But there's also, is it Kura or something like that? The one that's like the cannibal one, which you get from eating humans. Is that the night vision, the Cyclop one and the Cyclop 1B? If so, no. I only know of the Cyclop, like, one in general. I don't know what the difference would have been if one's like a better... my guess would be if they look the same externally, one model might have had a better Gen 1 tube in it. Yeah, do you think the people that completely Keegan think that Corona doesn't exist, do you think they think the common colds don't exist either? But yeah, because here's the thing, like I was saying before, the what was it? I wouldn't mind if there were people that came on and said, I think coronavirus is real, but I think we're doing way too much damage locking down. I don't like the fact I'm being asked to, wear a mask. I wouldn't mind those people at all because you can have an actual discussion. It's just the people that start talking crazy conspiracy stuff and they're like, oh, you're an idiot, you're a sheep, because, he is not. Common colds are coronaviruses and rhinoviruses, and I think other things, because the common cold is not one thing. They're essentially just upper respiratory infections. Yes, sadly, radioactive cow I did on the news with people with the vaccines causes autism signs and things like that as well. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Let's just put it that way diplomatically, that the people who believe this virus is fake are also the people that think vaccines can do things that vaccines can't do. And also 5G masks can give you, viruses wirelessly, The thing is, like, personally, if I was in charge, I know obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing, but if I was in charge of like a lockdown type situation where like coronavirus is coming, you need to try and minimize the damage, what I'd have probably done is got factories to make everybody proper half-face respirators, like FFP3 style masks, and then basically handed them out to everybody, and just make rules of, if you're out and about in public, you should be wearing the mask. That way, if you were giving people a decent filtering mask, I think, you couldn't have people using the excuse of, oh, it's too expensive to buy a mask, or make a face covering. It actually is a bit more medically sound because it's a filtering mask. Therapy is simpler, AD. This one is definitely a better all-round Geiger counter because of the fact that, it can detect alpha radiation. It's got a lot more, obviously, in the way of display on this. In terms of, you can set the scale, you can see different logging things like bar graphs and everything. This is a much better Geiger all-round, like an all-in-one package. The Terrapedo, I think, is probably a little bit tougher as well as being cheaper if you just wanted a good sort of Geiger. Terapes cover a larger radiation range as well. The thing is, though, I don't understand, though, Iron Drac, why some people really have... Oh, I didn't want him to be timed out for that. I wanted to chat with him, hence, the title stream. I don't see why masks themselves are so much of an issue. Because, there's some restrictions where I definitely think if the government can suddenly say we can fine you for doing something at, the drop of a hat, I definitely think that's bad. But I don't really see much of an issue with masks myself. As long as it's not super duper conspiracy stuff, Marcus. I want to chat on here if people have different opinions. But, obviously, if there's people that literally say stuff like vaccine causes autism, corona is caused by 5G, that stuff, then we're not talking with them because they are literally just throwing shit out that has no scientific basis. But if there are people that say, like, I think lockdown's gone too far or, stuff like that, I perfectly want to hear those people because it's good to have a discussion on it. All right, Mike. Alpha is important, call sign. It's AD who said that. It would block it to a degree, call sign alpha, because it blocks air going in and out, filters, I should say, not blocks. It's not as obviously good as an FFP3 mask filter-wise, but it's certainly going to filter the air going in and out to an extent because it's essentially just a cotton oven mitt you wear on your face. Yeah, the thing is, Rolandus, there's definitely a problem, I think, with how some places are allowed to open and some places aren't. And even with masks, what I really don't get is in the UK with some of the rules there are on masks or face coverings, whatever you want to call them, in like shops and things like that. There's a lot of strange stuff where certain people there don't have to wear it, which seems, pointless. Surely everybody shouldn't be wearing them or should be wearing them. It seems very strange when they say, if you've got this massive list of conditions and some of them aren't really proper conditions or would have no impact on coronavirus or wearing a mask, you don't have to wear a mask, or, shop workers don't have to wear a mask, but customers do. Well, that's a bit pointless then, because if there's an infected shop worker, they could be spreading it to everybody. It is completely Jones. Apparently, some people, unfortunately, have said there's been a couple of shops that have got shitty with them, like, oh, that's excessive, you shouldn't be wearing a mask like that. But I just literally complain to the PR people of that shop, if they're going to take that attitude. But yeah, for the person saying about alpha detection during, just going back to radiation, yes, you want to be able to detect alpha ideally in a shit hit the fan scenario, because there's some radioisotopes that only give off alpha radiation. So if you have a normal beta and gamma Geiger, you won't be able to detect them, but they could still be there and still be harmful. Alpha is only really a problem if you ingest it or inhale it, because it doesn't really penetrate very far through the skin, if at all. But if it gets inside you, it can do a lot of damage. And because there's some, radioisotopes types that only give off alpha or give off a majority, majority of their decays are alpha. If you have an alpha Geiger, you can, find them much easier. Another good thing of the alpha Geigers, if I open this up, is they're much better for contamination checking because they've got that like pancake window. You can very easily do that to see if there's any contaminants, as you can hear. And that's the good news. It doesn't seem like anywhere on me is ticking higher than background. But especially under your nails, that's a place, if you've ever handled radioactive stuff, you'll notice that you end up getting readings for quite a bit, even when you think you've washed your hands well. So they're very good for checking stuff like that. It's the best thing you can get, military bushcraft Ireland. It's still not good enough, really, in the sense that some of the coronavirus will still be smaller than the filter, micron size. But in terms of a P3 filter will cut out so much of it, in theory, in the air, that basically your chance of catching it are really, really low with a P3 mask on. Yeah, Alex, but I think potentially some of the virus microns can be even smaller than that. But the majority of them aren't. So that's the thing, is that the majority of it is going to be stopped fine by a P3 filter. So you're cutting down on viral load anyway. Technically, you wouldn't even get 100% protection factor with CBRN filters. You'd need like basically an air tank for 100% protection factors, because using any kind of filter, you've still got a negative pressure issue unless it's attached to the, you know, like a PAPA system. And even then, you've got the issue of, you know, there are certain gases some filters won't stop. Oh, AD, that's the complete point. Yeah. That's my exact point, AD. That's why you ideally want one that can detect alpha, because you can check, you know, things like your fingernails very thoroughly. Yeah, correct, Mr. Misha. As I said, I definitely recommend people wear a filtered mask, not a regular cloth mask, because I've had that conversation with quite a few people where they say, you know, I'm wearing a cloth mask. I say, well, if you've got access to a proper respirator of any kind, why aren't you wearing that? Because that way, you know, you are filtering the air coming in and giving yourself much better protection. Yeah, but the government says a regular mask's fine. Well, that's just because everybody can get regular masks, and they still don't want people buying out their PPE stocks. Do you have anything half face F4B Phantom? Because I'd say that would look less weird to a lot of people. All right, Altrix. Well, that's my point as well, that if you're wearing a mask, you're at least doing stuff that protects yourself to a degree, aren't you? Depending on how good the mask is. You know, that's at least giving you some control factor. But if you get it and the hospital system is overwhelmed, or they're like, sorry, we don't have ventilators or oxygen, you know, and you get it badly, that's where it could be a problem. I'm all right, John, thank you. The big issue I have, like, as I was saying, one of the comments I got earlier, and I did actually, ice to see you, Iron Drac. Frosty. Thanks for reminding me of Batman and Robin. But yeah, I was like, the thing earlier is I had one of those guys say to me, like, you're such a sheep because, you know, you went to get the test. I'm not saying they're going to steal your DNA of a test, but you don't need a test. And it's like, did you not listen in the video when I literally said somebody I came into contact with very likely had it? Therefore, everybody who they came into contact with, basically, it was sensible for them to get a test, because that basically told us, did we have it or not? You know, and then you could plan around that. And the thing is, I have relatives that have underlying conditions that would probably be killed by coronavirus, you know. And how bad would you feel if you might have got corona, you knew that, you didn't get a test for it, you went and visited those people, you gave them corona, and then they ended up dying? That would fucking, you know, I don't think many people would be very happy about that, would they? But some people don't get that. It's a very selfish thing, I think, with those people. It's just simply the fact, like, I don't want to get tested, therefore nobody should get tested. And again, I don't think people should be forced to be tested. But if in that situation you like work at a certain place, you know, one of your co-workers has had it and your employer says you need to get tested, or basically I'd say you're off like sick for 2 weeks, essentially, not getting sick pay. That would be how I do it as an employer. I don't know what the employment laws are, but, you know, I don't understand why some people have this very strange objection to testing. If people are atting people for a comment, make sure you at them, because sometimes when I see part of a comment, I'm never sure if it was like one or two parts of a comment, or if it was directed at me or somebody else. Yeah, they go on about, you're right, Andrew, they go on constantly about washing your hands but not washing your mask. But yeah, I wash one of the masks they give me at work. So basically, I generally wear a proper respirator, as said. Work basically gave everybody, you know, brand new kind of good cloth masks, but they're still cloth masks. And I basically said to them, you know, ideally, I'd rather not wear a mask or wear a proper filtered mask, and they were fine with that. But the mask work gives me if I do end up using that for whatever reason, I just simply put it in the washing machine when I get home with the rest of my uniform. Thank you, Keegan. He said, the school thing is going to be a massive problem because on one hand, you know, with a lot of the corona stuff, there's no easy answer, is there? Because if you've not got kids going back to school, their education is being damaged, and they're going to need that in the future, aren't they? Knowing how to do stuff. I do think a lot of the education system, at least in the UK, needs serious reworking. But kids not going to school is going to be a massive problem for everybody in the long run. But you need to put them back in a way that you can lower the risks as much as possible. And again, like all of this is a balancing act. So I really don't know, in all honesty. I would say it's more important for kids to go back to school than not go back to school. But I think if they are going back to school, they need to think about it very carefully on how they're going to do it. Because I know people who have, you know, been doing A-levels and that recently, you know, although I'm a lot older than that now, you know, I work with people that did GCSEs and A-levels. And a lot of them were saying recently that, you know, their online learning component was awful, you know, that they weren't learning anything from it because their teachers are rarely setting lessons, you know, or not giving them the right resources. Yeah, that sounds completely stupid, Radioactive Cow, because, yeah, if you've got a bubble and then the bubble's a huge amount of people, but they don't need to... yeah, because the thing is, I get with a bubble if it's a family unit, because it's completely impractical for everybody in, like, a house to not have contact with each other, you know, and all this. Because I think the logic they have basically is anybody in your household, if one of you has it, the rest of you probably have it, which makes sense to me if it's meant to be highly infectious. But, yeah, having a bubble that big is completely pointless. Could be that Iron Drac. I think some of them, though, are just the people who like to protest about everything. I've noticed that, you know, some of those sort of groups of people are the ones that complain that they shouldn't be forced to wear a mask, which is fair enough, but then they also say, you should do this, you should do that. So, okay, so you're basically saying, I don't want to follow instructions that apply to other people, but you have to follow instructions. Okay, then you're not really making a liberal sort of libertarian argument, are you, if you're doing that? Because I had somebody whinging at me earlier saying, oh, he claims to be a libertarian, but he's a whiny liberal. Well, I think when Americans say liberal, they mean something completely different than what we mean in the West, because in Europe, libertarian and liberal is basically the same political ideology. Again, I'm not really any strongly political ideology. I sit on the fence and get splinters in my arse. But the thing is, like I was saying with all that, is don't, for one thing, tell me that you're a sheep if you go get tested. Nobody should be forced to go and get tested. I wasn't forced to go get tested. But then say, you know, like, I'm not going to wear a mask and all this, because what you're literally saying, you know, in a comment like that where you contradict yourself if you're doing that kind of argument, is that, you know, basically rules should not apply to me, is basically what I think those people are saying. I certainly wouldn't be voting Tory in the next election, Sean Sheep. Boris has bungled it pretty badly. I think Richie Sunak's done a pretty good job, the Chancellor, actually. But for the most part, the Tories recently have been, you know, cock up. But no, I'm not a massive fan of the Tories. I think ideally I'd vote Lib Dem, but the problem is, well, saying that, they've had a leadership election now, haven't they? So maybe the Lib Dems are going to be a bit better again, but recently the Lib Dems have been, like, just not a choice recently, or they've just been stupid, you know, like, oh, we need to reverse Brexit and all that sort of stuff, you know, not actually being a Liberal Party that accepts the point of vote. Keir Starmer, I think, is doing a good job in Labour at the moment, but the thing is, all Keir Starmer really has to do at the moment is criticise what the government does, doesn't he? He doesn't actually have to come up with his own decisions. But yeah, I mean, in the last election, you had Corbyn and lots of other anti-Semites, and, you know, people with very dodgy backgrounds in charge of the Labour Party, essentially Marxists. You know, the last election was, again, like I think a lot of people think about the upcoming US election, you know. It's like one of those, I don't want to vote for any of these people. Thank you very much, MUHI, is that Muhai? With a little moustache symbol, thank you very much. What currency is RON? Is that a Romanian thing, or is that something else? I'm going to have to look up what the RON currency is. It is Romanian Lu, is it? Or Liu? Ah, but thank you very much. I've now discovered what the Romanian currency is. I honestly didn't know. I know that Hungary is it? It's not sovereigns in Hungary, is it? It's... Fuck, I thought I knew what the Hungarian was. But florins? Is Hungarian florins? Is it Hungarian florins? I'm going to have to check this now. I can't remember. Hungarian florins? Oh, Hungarian forint, yes. Because Hungarian forint, Poland zloty or zloty, isn't it? Whatever it's called. But yeah. So it's forint, is it? But yeah, that's the problem, Marcus. Is yeah, because like I've said, the thing is, I'd like to discuss things with people because the thing I like about LBC is generally each presenter on there at the moment, either thinks lockdown's gone too far, lockdown's not gone enough, and they can have a discussion around it. But none of them say stuff like, the 5G towers cause corona and stuff like that. I think Margaret Thatcher is very polarizing. Some people like her, some people hate her. I don't think there's anybody that's really on the fence with Margaret Thatcher. She was a strong leader, at least. I know she did a lot of fucked up policies, but Margaret Thatcher is at least one of those politicians, where they actually did stuff when they were elected, not just sort of sat around doing nothing. The answer to your question, Cobb Monitor, is I have very good personal hygiene, but you're obviously doing it to be a cunt, so fuck off. Yeah, Thatcher the milk snatcher closed the mines as well. The only EDC gloves, OK9, I know that would actually protect you decently from stuff is those riot gloves I have, and they'd be a bit bulky. You can get some tactical gloves that are designed to be, slightly cut resistant and impact resistant and everything. Yeah, I can understand, Mr. Misha, if stuff's going on like that, why places that are sending kids back are already having spikes. All right, good luck getting your glasses sorted. I know glasses can be quite expensive. In the UK, they're covered until I think it's your 18 or like finish education. And certain groups of people, and I don't mean that in like a conspiratorial way when I say certain groups of people. I mean, like, if you fall under certain categories of like being incredibly poor, I think it is, having certain medical conditions, can get like glasses and that for free. But if you're like me, you basically have to pay for the frames, pay for the lenses. An MS4 filter. Is that the old Polish one? That does fit GP5s fine if it's the one I'm thinking of, because it's basically the Polish Ghost filter from the Cold War. I've done a video on that ages ago, AD. I'll have to do an updated one because what will be in it will be changed. But as I've already said, I don't really have a bug out bag set up as such. What I was actually setting up a while ago was like a rough sleeping bag, as in more of an idea as if I was suddenly homeless for whatever reason, what could I have in a bag for short-term homelessness, that would kind of save your life or keep you a lot more comfortable. But yeah, like I said, I'd have to definitely do an updated EDC style bag thing because it is very outdated, the old video I did on it. The Brody helmet was very good for what it was. They were pretty cheap to make from what I understand, and they offered very good steel, in terms of head protection. Although the downside was they didn't cover much of your head, but that was because originally they were just designed to be that and a brim from, like shrapnel coming down, or that you meant to go to ground and like do that and then it protected you. I think Iron Drac, more because a lot of the travel's reopened up again. At least here in the UK, basically flights and everything are as normal now, but it's just in some places you're meant to quarantine, but it's not really enforced. So people come back, don't want to quarantine, and just carry on like normal. Not right now, Trix. Ask me a bit later. Who is the Scottish guy, Sean Cheap? I've not actually heard of him. Military as such, not loads. I watched like a lot of gun channels like Paul Harrell and Hickok 45 and those. I know Maximus, I think, is sub to this channel. I'm sub to him because he comes on and says hello every now and again. Oh, the coronavirus has come on. Well, that's not being civil, is it? People don't come on here to talk about that. I wouldn't tell like a Muslim man, for example, to shave his beard off because it doesn't suit him. I know this isn't a religious thing. I'm just saying that it's a completely stupid thing, you know, for somebody to go, oh no, the moustache suits you or doesn't suit you. And I've still not answered my question, Sean Sheep. Yeah, the Mark 6 is really bad. The Mark 6A is all right because it's Kevlar. Windscale is the British nuclear enrichment plant, which went horribly, horribly wrong. If you don't know what Windscale is, look it up. But basically, because you can still go to basically the site, you can take measurements. Yeah, forgotten weapons I like. In-range TV is like the kind of sister channel of Forgotten Weapons, isn't it? I don't watch them as much, but I do. No, I didn't, Benny. It's probably been hidden by YouTube. Try putting it in again and maybe wording it slightly differently. I can't ever grow on all that WoW AD. Like, certain bits of it will grow. Like, I can grow a goatee, but I don't. But if I do Respirator reviews, can't have a beard because it breaks the seal. Oh, yep. Mike, what the person might be on about, that Sean's on about, is the person who's not liked by anybody in the gas mask community anymore for being horrible to loads of people in it. All right, Benny, enjoy your block for being a racist twat. Thanks, YRAF. But that comment hadn't even come through for me anyway. But as soon I don't think anybody actually falls for doing that. Oh, that's all right, Diatul. If that's how your name's pronounced, I'm glad you're finding stuff interesting. But yeah, I'm glad you find stuff useful. Yeah, I hope that comes back negative, Ultron. But yeah, that's the reason I had a test specifically, was because I'd come into contact with somebody that had it. I did not want to endanger any of my relatives that are more, like frail, however you want to say it. Oh, you finally got the mask you ordered in June, Altrix. That's great. I think relax. The winter's going to be pretty bad if we get a combined, like bad flu season with Corona. I'm definitely taking a few up to Windscale. And I said, yeah, I am going to Windscale. Hopefully this week. I won't say the day just because, I don't know if it's going to definitely be on Monday if the weather changes or whatever. I don't bother using Reddit, Sean Sheep. I'm going to be honest, most of the Reddits have gone to complete shit, and most of the people who used to be like quite good members of the Gas Mask Reddit don't even use it anymore. Just because basically, for those of you that don't know, I'll give a TLDR version. A lot of the shit that went on was caused by a few people basically stirring up shit between all the big YouTubers that did Gas Mask videos. Like I said, I'm not going to name anyone because I'm not going to slander anyone, even though I know they talk shit about me behind my back. But basically what happened is they'd been like pissing off Duke Nougat and stuff like that and saying to him that I'd said stuff and whatever, and vice versa. And it's basically a couple of just whiny people on there that wanted to cause as much like drama as possible. But yeah, so it's just basically whenever anybody ever sort of brings it up, that's just how I basically, try and diffuse that. It's basically, the police ended up getting involved as well. It was that serious because people making fake police reports against me, and then I ended up basically counter, using the police, as you can rightfully use them if people are harassing you in that such a way. Yeah, Max. So You know, like I said, there were certain people that were basically just out to cause as much grief for as many people as possible, and that's why I literally don't have anything to do with a lot of the gas mask stuff anymore, except the people I know who are all right. Just because, again, there's so many people in it now that make like alternative accounts to try and like get people's personal information there. Yeah, I'll definitely be recording lots of video when I'm up there, Thomas. I won't be live streaming from there because of like mobile internet and everything, but I'll definitely be filming a few videos, taking pictures, taking up a few different Geiger counters, taking some sample jars up. Right, the thing is about the subreddit, Krogan, is not everybody on there is bad, obviously. I think the majority of people on there are probably all right, but what I'm just saying is there's definitely people on there that try and cause trouble. You know, that were in a few other communities and then were literally all kicked out, or they literally caused those communities to collapse just because they were constantly, you know, like spreading rumors, trying to harvest people's information, you know, basically just trying to be, I don't want us to turn into a drama stream, but, you know, like I was saying, that is basically, for the people who didn't know about all the bad stuff that happened in the gas mask community, that's basically what it was, that there were just people stirring up shit between all, like, the top members in there. I do have, there's a Discord for people that donate, and then that's the one where if people post racist and horrible shit on there now, they get banned. You know, people who are nice to people, want to talk, stay on there. Yeah, well, that's the thing, Alf. You can know, the thing is, right, even with like the corona stuff, if you know Dr. John Campbell, who does absolutely excellent videos on corona, very, very, you know, good source of information, him. If you go on his videos and don't sort by the top comments, but sort by the newest first, there are literally people calling him a paedophile and all sorts of other stuff, just literally because he takes corona seriously and gives health advice. No, I'm definitely not a prepper. I have a few things that would be useful in prepping scenarios, but because I have chronic illnesses and stuff, you know, and I think there's some events you can't prepare for properly anyway. I'm definitely not a prepper. I don't mind giving like any advice to preppers if they want to know about kit, but there's also very I'm a bit wary of preppers. Obviously, a lot of them are absolutely fine, but again, you kind of run into the problem I found with a few prepping channels where they become, you know, quite strange and almost a bit either like far right, far left, you know, whatever else. Listen, I know that obviously doesn't speak of preppers in general, but I'm just saying some of the bigger YouTube channels I found about prepping kind of, I get a bit wary by the comments you start getting on prepping videos. In theory, there are OK9. There's a Chinese refillable filter, but they're absolutely awful in terms of unless you're putting filter like particulate filter medium in, they don't hold enough stuff to actually filter anything. Is History Secrets a TV series? Probably not, unless I've just randomly watched them uploaded to YouTube. I watch quite a few history like documentaries. I generally watch ones that have just been uploaded to YouTube or on things like Amazon Prime. You know, I generally don't flick the history channel on and hope I catch it at the time there's something interesting on. I actually doubt cannibals would be the biggest problem you'd have post-nuclear war. It would be just in general starvation or dying from radiation poisoning. Yeah, Mark Felton is good. I'm sub to Mark Felton. But yeah, like I said, I don't mind suggestions for YouTube channels I might like. In what country, Ethan? In the UK, some hardware stop shops getting ABEC filters, like ABEC P3 filters, which is what you want to get. But in general, military CBRN filters aren't sold on the civilian market if they're in date, because at that point they're meant to be in, you know, military warehouses. I've seen the film of the road, and that's not a nuclear war, is it? It's apparently a volcano erupting or something. The film's all right, but it's not a very realistic post-apocalypse film. It's very depressing. It's a good film, don't get me wrong. If you want to watch a depressing kind of, you know, gritty, horrible film that will make you feel like shit, The Road is excellent. But it's not a realistic kind of, you know, post-apocalypse type thing. If you want to watch a realistic post-apocalypse film, you probably want to watch Fred's. And threads is basically just everybody dies just some sooner than later. Depends what you're using them for, Jonas. In some things, an outdated filter is completely useless. In other things, they'd be completely fine no matter how long they've been out of date. Oh yeah, big. Well, you definitely have problems with people looting, wouldn't you? Like, I don't even think a lot of people would be cannibals. I just think people looting because literally you've got food or supplies they want. Yeah, this one is kind of halfway between a beep and a click, actually. If it clicks right into the microphone. It's not detecting any radiation now. I've put it in the mic. There we go. All right, let me re-add you. When people leave by accident and want to be re-added, that's absolutely fine. The only issue is obviously the people that get banned because they're literally breaking the rules, and then they're saying, "Oh, it's admin abuse that I broke a rule that was on the rules bit, and was probably warned and still broke the rules, that kind of thing." But yeah, if you left by accident, let me re-add you. There you go. I've sent you a request. Let me invite you to the server as soon as you accept it. Yeah, do you remember Sparrow when the BBC made good stuff? Oh, apparently is the BBC having the television license thing scrapped now? I've heard that like it's an actual thing that's going to happen now, not just it's being talked about. But I haven't seen it like on any major news sites. But yeah, the for those of you that don't know, in the UK, the BBC, which is like our main kind of television channel, you basically have to pay a TV license even if you don't watch it. That's how they get their funding. And it basically seems, thankfully now, like they're basically being told, fuck off, you're not going to be allowed to, keep charging people, for stuff if they don't want to watch it. You need to move to a subscription service, which the BBC doesn't want to happen because they basically want people to be forced to pay for their service. All right, so it's just not being criminalized. They should just scrap it completely, though, shouldn't they? The thing is, if I had my own place, I wouldn't even bother with a TV. I'd just have the internet because, you can watch most things online anyway, can't you? I know technically if you watch a BBC thing on iPlayer, you need a TV license and all that. But I just mean in general, I would not miss the television if I had the internet because nearly every channel does their stuff online anyway. Any military flashlights? Not any proper military ones. I've got a Soviet IR flashlight thing that attaches to the Cyclops system, but all the ones I've got are just like modern made ones. I've not even watched Doctor Who in years, Altrix. The last Doctor I actually watched consistently was the Matt Smith ones. He was all right. I thought David Tennant was all right in some episodes, but it just got stretched a bit thin, by the end of it, where a lot of the plots were just kind of almost like a copy-paste kind of Doctor is like, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't save you, but then the Doctor saves people kind of thing. I thought what's his name was very good, even though he was only one series. What was his name? The bloke who, Christopher Eccleston. He was quite good as the Doctor. But I like old Doctor Who, a bit like old Star Trek. It's a bit campy and naff, but in a lot of ways it's a lot better. I've not watched any of the Jodie Whittaker ones, but I stopped watching even before she became the Doctor. I don't think I watched any. Was it Peter Capaldi who was before her? I don't think I watched any of those either. But yeah, the thing I like about a lot of the old Doctor Who type things is they were kind of more of like that PG-13 without being planned as that sort of thing, weren't they? Where stuff was kind of just made for people in general. There was nothing like too shocking in it, but it also didn't try and be really kid-friendly. Where now everything's made so much by committee, isn't it? Where, it has to fit into this exact age bracket, Yeah, see, it's a similar thing to that, Seven Beetle of Doom by the sound of it, especially because the BBC is also has all these requirements where it can't be biased, but they are getting more and more biased, where they obviously choose a political party they like. Going to be completely honest, Mike, most of the Matt Smith series I watched because what's her name is really fucking fit. The Scottish redhead bird. Karen something, is it? I mostly watched it because she looked good. But yeah, I did like the Matt Smith one. Yeah, Karen Gillan, that's it. Or Gillian, yes. That was the main reason I watched that series. But there you go. There's I'm a simple man. But yeah, the thing is, like I said, Christopher Eccleston I thought was the best out of all the new Doctors. It's a shame he's in one series, but I just like old Doctor Who. Yeah, in those tights, Ryan, in that police uniform. Like I said, I've not watched any of them, Gas Mask Boy, and that's not me going, oh, I'm not going to watch it because there's a woman in it. It's literally, I just have not watched them because I lost interest in the show a long time ago. And from what I understand, even people who don't mind a Doctor being a woman say a lot of the episodes just have really bad scripts, or too much politics shoved into them. Because like I say, the old Doctor Who's I like are just the ones about, like aliens trying to kill everybody on Earth and the Doctor has to stop them, like with Unit or whatever, like Spearhead from Space and all those. And there's some good ones in like, space or alternative planets as well. Okay, you can stop spamming the chat now, Gas Mask Boy. But yeah, the problem is lots of TV shows though, if they get ruined by politics, don't they? And I really don't mean this in like I'm some sort of alt-right, poll kind of guy who's like, oh, they can't have black people in this or whatever. It's just when you start trying to push, I think, on lots of things, politics ahead of the storyline of what the thing's meant to be, that's not why people like me watch it. Especially if there's shit going on in politics that's really boring and depressing anyway. You think, oh, I want to watch some TV to escape from that. Oh no, they're shoving more politics down my throat. I'm surprised there's not, like in one of these things, like an evil Trump man as like the villain in some of these. I'm sure they've done that in a few series now, but I think all of my favorite things are either things like TV shows or either things that cover historical politics, so there's no modern political thing brought into it. It's just, stuff that really happened, like the kind of docudrama series like Chernobyl, Deadwood, all those sort of things, Boardwalk Empire, or just stuff that's completely fantasy based, I know there's the one, isn't there, the thing of the spiders, James, where he's like fighting with like Tibetan monks, isn't it? Or there's like a Tibetan monk that's working with him to fight the other evil Tibetan monks. That's probably right, Daniel, because he has written some good episodes, hasn't he? But again, yeah, I think that's probably the thing you need. I think with a lot of these things, you need more than one writer, just so people can improve each other's scripts and brainstorm ideas. All right, AK-47. Mostly eBay military bushcraft. If you mean like a particular seller, there isn't really any anymore. I just look for stuff that's cheapest, from a variety of sellers. Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? I remember liking Torchwood, but I only really remember watching the first series properly. And I remember some episodes were definitely better than others. Wasn't the one everybody liked the one that didn't have anything to do with aliens or whatever, Countryside or whatever it was called, about the cannibals living in like rural England or rural Wales, wherever it was? I'm not seeing your comments, big boy. What I think you're doing is typing stuff YouTube is hiding. Look online, Ethan. So look up Screwfix and all stuff like that, because a lot of them do it, but a lot of them run out of stock. And like Screwfix near me hasn't had filters or nitrile gloves in at all recently. They just keep selling out. I've not got any gas mask, boy. The closest to an actual shell I've got is a 50 BMG round somewhere. I don't know if I've got it handy though. But yeah, because a 50 BMG round, there it is. It's so big compared to conventional rounds that, that is basically a shell. I mean, it was originally designed for anti-aircraft, wasn't it? Near the end of World War One. That's what the 50 BMG was actually for. But yeah, that's essentially the only shell I've got, and that's a very small shell as shells go. Oh, that's good, Daniel. Because I mean, it was stupid, wasn't it, when people buying all of them just to resell them at a stupid, you know. No, I did judo when I was younger for a bit, but I just kind of got bored of it. What are you on about, big boy? As I've said to you before, I think your comments aren't showing because you're typing something YouTube doesn't like. It's auto hiding the comments, so we're not avoiding you on purpose. It's just your comments aren't coming through. Oh, if you mean Discord, yeah, it's for donators. Yeah, I know there's places you faxing. I know there are places you can get the gloves. I'm just sort of saying that, in general, I know a lot of places now don't get enough stock in or they sell out very quickly. Yeah, that would be good, Daniel, wouldn't it? If the people who bulk bought them and kept them from everybody now have to sell them at a loss and we can get them cheap if we want them for family members or whatever. Somebody speaking German, which I don't understand. Something about a German soldier, not something. I don't know. You might have to fight other people to be the biggest fan, Anthony, but thank you. What are all those particular scenes? Is that in Doctor Who or something else? I don't know who that bloke is. Let me look him up. Is he the bloke that was in? So who was he in Doctor Who? Oh, Rory. Yeah, I mean, I can't remember it all that well. I just thought she was hot. Like, if you weren't listening, Swaggerino, we were literally saying that the BBC has made Doctor Who woke now and people don't watch it. I didn't see your previous bit of the comment, Croken. So it's you just saying it's one of the best looking masks. Which mask? That's fine. I don't mind people being German one day. It's just if people aren't talking in English in the chat, I struggle to understand what they are saying. Right, AK-47. I like a lot of old games. There's only been a couple of things I've got recently I've actually put any time into playing, and that has been the new Flight Simulator, so Flight Simulator 2020. I've bought Chernobyl Light, but not played any of it. After watching Mike play it, I bought, although it's kind of a game, but not a game, The Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker, just because that was very strange. I keep meaning to play Red Dead Redemption 2 properly, because I was waiting for it to come out for ages on PC. Bought it, was really excited for it. The initial PC release had a lot of crashes and bugs, so I decided to not, keep playing it until a lot of the bugs are fixed. And I think they've done that now, but I've just never got back into the, the mindset of relearning all the controls and everything. I'm kind of interested in the PS5 Iron Drac just for the Demon Souls remaster they're doing. I have not I didn't even see any of the Peter Capaldi Doctor Who's because I'd already lost interest by that point. Not anymore, Ethan. I did play it quite a bit a while ago. When I say a while ago, I mean like a year, 2 years ago. But I was just getting sick of like having to relearn all the rebalances they were doing, and I know there's been apparently even like more radical rebalances now that lots of people complain about. So I'm probably not going to reuse up like 20, 30 gigs of hard drive space, whatever it is, to put it back on there where I can use that for other stuff. If I get any Z Raptics, but if you've sort of followed the streams for a while, I've probably not bought any in ages just because there's not that many different models that have come onto the market, or at least not like sensible prices. And I've already got quite a few, and I don't get a chance to shoot them very often at the moment. So Yeah, it's a CT12, big boy. That's the Altrix. Sean Sheep, the CT12 is a derivative of the FM12. The FM12 is the mask that replaced the S10. I'd have said, commies, go fuck yourself, Iron Drac, if it was them. But I know they have to be, like, big companies like that have to be very careful PR, don't they? But personally, I'd kind of get it more if, like, victims of a massacre objected to the footage. But if it's literally the people who carried out a massacre then object because they pretend it never happened, I'd have been like, get fucked, commies. Let's make it a prominent feature of the game. Oh, the FM53 probably is better, but people can have preferences, and the FM53 is very, very expensive. Oh, that's cool, Ethan, yeah, because, like I said, CT12s don't turn up all that often, sadly, just because I think it was one of those things where most companies just ordered FM12s rather than CT12s. What is in the rebreather things? Yes, Ty, there are. If you watched the video I did a while ago on the Polish rebreather, the canister that comes with it is compatible with the old Soviet ones. It's like made to the same specification. It's just modern and safer. But in terms of how it attaches, it's the same thing. Yeah, I really like Deadwood because what's his name's in it? Ian McShane, calling everybody a cocksucker. I don't want this stream to get too political because we're more talking about Corona and how people are saying, what do you think of this country versus this country, which I don't want to get into. That is literally a sign which was for respirators on a military firing range, I believe. Big boy, it's because if you watch the video, I literally said I'm not going to open it all up, like use the rebreather scrubber, and you can't breathe a rebreather unless the scrubber unit's working. I think there'll definitely be civil unrest and never surrender. It's really hard to say because I have no idea how a lot of this is going. But I think if you look at the US, obviously at the moment you're getting a lot of conflict. I think Corona's going to escalate so fast. And I mean to say I would certainly worry about lockdown stuff being used in the future to erode civil liberties, even though I think a lot of lockdown was sensible when we had it. Yeah, Mr. Wu, swidging. Back boy, low cocksucker. But yeah, Mr. Wu is a very good character. Swidging. But I won't do an imitation of Mr. Wu too much on this stream in case YouTube does me for being racist. You just have to hope knife in guts out that if you're looking on eBay, one turns up for a good price. I sent somebody my spare S10 recently because he'd wanted one for ages and I could never get one for a good price. So I just sent it him as a gift. But oh, I completely missed Lewis's comment. He said, "I'm just sat here hoping the rumors about Sony buying a Metal Gear franchise from Konami. That'd be good. It'd be good if they could, rather than making pachinko machines or whatever they're called, actually make another proper Metal Gear game." Thank you, I'm Deutsch Soldier. Somebody else earlier said shave it off. But, it is strange, though, when people get more obsessed over the tash than actually what I'm saying on a stream or a video. It's like when you start seeing, comments on random videos where people start talking about stuff that has nothing to do with the video. Is he the guy that shot the rioters, Tyre? If he's the guy I'm thinking of, in the videos I saw, he first tries to get away from them, and then they knock him to the ground and then start trying to attack him on the ground. So I believe he was justified in self-defense. However, I don't know enough about the laws in the state and whatever. Could he have been out there with the gun in the first place, you know? But I think in terms of Darwin Awards, if you try and run up and attack somebody with a rifle and you get shot, then, you know, you had that coming, didn't you? In terms of the legality of it, I really don't know. But personally, how I would like laws to be seen is if somebody has a right to have a gun and somebody attacks them and they fear for their life and they shoot them, that should be self-defense. You know, I mean, obviously, if he'd have just been randomly shooting people, that'd be very different. But from the videos I saw, if this is the guy, he is literally chased down the road by a mob, knocked to the ground, and then like 2 or 3 people try and jump on him and start kicking him, probably, you know, trying to beat him to death or cripple him, you know, and he shot them. Oh, so when the person was armed with a gun as well, that makes him even more justified in my opinion, but, you know. Yeah, I don't think they would anymore, Seven Beetle. The thing I like in Deadwood, though, is I don't want to spoil it for Mike, because Mike's not seen it, so we won't spoil it for him yet, although he's got the DVDs of it. But what I did like is that bit where, although you kind of think Swedgen's, or Swearingen, whatever he's called, is like racist to Mr. Wu or whatever in the Chinese, when that guy later in the series is like properly like killing and beating up the Chinese people, when Swearingen beats him to death, you can see how angry he is that that guy is like actually a proper racist. You know, because there's a bit different between somebody using words that would be considered racist and somebody actually racially targeting people. But, you know, that's why shows like Deadwood were good, because, you know, they had balls, didn't they? Yeah, if it's a legit mask and not broken, 25 quid for it, yeah, get it. In Britain, you can drink at 18. You can buy alcohol at 18. We have some laws where you can actually drink at a younger age, but there's lots of weird caveats to it. But yeah, in Britain, the law is when you're 18, you can just basically buy as much alcohol as you want and drink yourself to death if you want to. Well, this is the problem, Croken, is that a lot of this stuff is you get people that shout loud and do silly things on both sides of a political argument, don't they? And that's why people are, oh, you stupid liberal, you're sitting on the fence. It's like, well, it's just in general, the extremes never seem good. The one there, that is an East German one, but it's a Russian design. Thank you, Cozy, he says. He said, as a gunsmith firearm trained in the US, he was legally justified in every way and broke no laws. Also in the US, Corona isn't an issue, it's the riots. Yeah, I think the riots are probably a lot more of an issue, because I've spoken to some Americans at the moment who say, you know, they're a lot more fearful of that sort of stuff happening near them than, you know, the actual... I can completely get you that, yeah. Yeah. I always find it, though, weird, real Vincent Griffin, though, when I see stuff of Ian McShane in where he's not swearing like that. You know, like if you see Lovejoy or whatever, or he's in the Battle of Britain, he calls his wife a silly bitch or whatever, but, you know, he's, it's just funny, though, isn't it, when you then watch something like Deadwood and literally every single other word people say is like a swear word. But, like, with all these situations, though, you seem to get people that literally just want to turn up to riot and loot, don't you? Regardless of whatever the cause was that made people angry in the first place. It seems literally every time you get that, there's people like, oh, opportunity to loot and beat people up, you know? And they're the people, I think, you know, that probably if they got shot, I wouldn't have any sympathy for them. Oh, the AK is deactivated, if you mean the RPK that's there. I've got 2 functioning firearms, and they're classed as antiques, so don't fall under British gun law. Which is the Martini Henry carbine and the Schmidt-Rubin rifle, the Swiss bolt action. And with those, the laws are a bit strange, because I think if you get old antique ammo for them, owning the antique ammo is legal, owning the antique gun is legal. If I loaded them up and started shooting them, I think I'd have to have them registered as a firearm and then jump through all the firearms hoops. But in the UK, basically, our gun laws, to explain it really simply, is most pistols are banned unless they're black powder or they have those weird, you know, extenders on them. So basically just say, let's say pistols are banned, you know, semi-automatic pistols. Shotguns can be single barrel, double barrel, and basically any bore, you know, whatever you want to call it. But I think pumps and auto shotguns have to be limited to an internal magazine of 3. So basically, you know, you can only shoot 3 rounds before you have to reload it. With rifles, this is where it gets a bit complicated, because there's a thing called a Section 1 firearms license, and on that you can basically have anything if it's bolt action or some sort of single action, in the sense of, you know, you shoot it and then have to do something to recock it. So in theory, anti-tank rifles are legal here, and like 50, you know, BMG anti-material rifles, all those sort of things, they're legal. But most people, even if they get a Section 1, never bother getting them. What you find most people get on Section 1s are things like Ruger 1022s, or just bolt actions of a cheapish caliber for shooting, you know, like bigger animals like deer or whatever. Oh, okay, Daniel, I didn't know that. So yeah, if you've got a Section 1, then you're saying that you can have full capacity regular shotguns. It's just on the Section 2, because that's kind of like the more amateur gun law bit, isn't it? In terms of it's easier to get kind of thing. That's where you're restricted 3 rounds. Okay. All right. Thanks, Lewis. Lewis has just said the same thing under him. Yeah, I did not know that. Thank you for informing me about that. But yeah, so that's interesting, isn't it? So a Sega 12 is completely legal and similar things. I imagine an AA 12 as well, if you have a Section 1. Interesting to know. The thing as well, real Vincent Griffin, with Deadwood, is Hurst is literally a real cunt of a villain, isn't he, in season 3 in the film? He's like one of those villains you properly hate. You know, he's not one of those ones like, oh, I sympathise with him. You think, nah, that man is a fucking prick, you know, and you wish he got more than what he got, you know, because he's a real bloke. But yeah, the thing I've heard as well, Cozy, is that apparently lots of people who are anti-gun for a very long time are buying guns now, you know, almost realizing, oh, I might want something for protection. You know, the people who are probably trying to erode gun rights for ages are now like, oh shit, I might actually want a gun, because if my family's, you know, being attacked and the police can't respond fast enough, I want to be able to defend them. You know, I can completely understand like the Second Amendment and a lot of rules to, you know, a lot of rules or, you know, respects to self-defense in that regard, because, you know, I think personally I would ideally like the same thing. You know, the laws in the UK don't work like this, but you know, the idea that you can legally just buy a gun, have it in your house, and if somebody breaks in with the intent to cause you harm, bang bang. But you know, that's not how our laws work. Sort of a bit like Kingdom Come Deliverance then, Seven Beetles of Doom, but I guess just more of an open world map. Yeah, my local gun shop, Iron Man, if they're still around, I don't know if they are or not. They did rifles and shotguns, you know, and you could chat with the gun shop owner about them when you're buying air rifles or whatever, or just buying other stuff. And they were really good in terms of, you know, like if you wanted to go down getting an FAC kind of thing, they talk you all through it. Because they said the annoying thing is the police often aren't helpful, even though like the police are ones that deal with the permits. Like the police won't want to give you information on it, so you know it's better talking to a gun shop owner about local gun clubs and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, who was that fucking really childish, stupid kind of school shooter, spree shooter guy? Was it like Randy Stair or something he was called, where he couldn't even hit anything with a shotgun? I know sadly he did kill some people, you know. The one that like wanted to fuck a ghost girl or something. I'm sure some of you know the one I'm on about. But have you seen that really cringeworthy video where he's trying to shoot a shotgun for ages and just can't hit, you know, can't hit the broadside of a barn with it? But yes, you would of course have to aim a shotgun, because the spread is only going to give you a little bit of margin of error, isn't it? And again, I imagine shot is more dependent on wind and everything else, actually. Oh, no, Washington Spies, that turns up on Prime now and again, doesn't it? I'll have to definitely watch that then, because I've seen that, like, you know, on my recommended thing, but I've never watched it. But I'll definitely check that out then. Thank you. Well, I suppose having a shotgun then for defense makes a good idea, doesn't it? If you can always get the ammo for it. I mean, shotguns are pretty versatile things, aren't they? I think Paul Harrell's done quite a few videos talking about why shotguns are just good all round things. From what I understand in America, if you want to buy something that is legit fully automatic, it has to be under a machine gun license or something, doesn't it? Which costs way too much money for people who actually want it for, you know, regular stuff other than like cool factor. Yeah, and I suppose you can still get slugs quite easily, can't you, for the shotguns over there? That's the one, 7 Beetle of Doom. I did get the right guy then. Randy Stair, a brony that wanted to impress his Danny Phantom waifu. Yes, by killing innocent people and being pathetic at doing that. Oh yeah, I like his helmet videos, Iron Drac, because he was one of the only people who was basically shit, shot one of these. He's one of the only channels on YouTube that actually shot one of these. He did the American ECH version, not the Virtus kind of one we get under license from America, but, you know, showing just how good these helmets are. Oh, that's interesting, Lewis. I did not know that. That is very interesting. But yeah, like you said, there's a lot of things like that with our laws, aren't there, where there's something that's technically legal, but lots of places almost want insurance, as in you have a license of some sort to sell it. Yeah, I did not know that you could own shotgun shells without a license. That's very interesting. I don't think I'd have any use for them personally, but I just did not know that. That's interesting, isn't it? There's a lot of things in our gun laws that, you know, you find out they're not as bad as you think they are when people talk about them. I knew about the blanks because people use them in like either like bird scarers, don't they, or like kind of alarm systems where like a pin, you know, makes the blank go off. I've not watched Sargon in a while, but I do like Sargon's videos. I like Count Dankula, both for like Mad Lads and just some of the stuff he does on politics every now and again, of like how fucked is the UK. What other channels are there I watch politically? Because I kind of watch a few left and right wing channels just to get a general gist of things if I'm caring enough about a subject. But off the top of my head, I can't think of many other than, like you said, Sargon. What's his name? The problem I had with some of the channels is they ended up going too far right from kind of centre right, as in, you know, people that originally were right wing but were very kind of, you know, balanced and decent, and a lot of them ended up, I think, slowly turning a bit more racist and whatever else. I was like, oh, I don't really want to be associated with these people anymore, because they were talking more about, you know, their ethno-nationalistic identities or whatever, you know, and I was thinking, oh dear, this isn't going to end well. That sounds very interesting, though, 7 Beetle of Doom. Oh, yeah, I've watched quite a few of his videos, Ty. I don't think I've watched him in a while, though. But I've watched Paul Joseph Watson before, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of funny things rhyme with stuff like ITAR. These would definitely be covered on something like ITAR. The only reason they turn up here is the British government essentially buys them for the army, and then they get surplus or missing from stock, you know. So if you want an ECH in the UK, you buy one of these, which is the Virtus, like Cobra Revision. It basically is just an ECH that's, I think, a slightly different liner and everything, but... Yeah, if anybody's seen the Chernobyl series, I know obviously Chernobyl's a real thing, but just to make it easy for people to understand Corona, you know in Chernobyl how all of the people are basically denying that the fucking reactor has exploded when it's clearly exploded because they don't want to be blamed, and because the low-level dosimeter said 3.6 Rontgen, they didn't want to believe it was anything higher than 3.6 Rontgen, because then that would say there was a bigger problem. So they were basically going, our lowest level meter said this, so it's this, you know. I think China had a lot of that similar thing with Corona initially, where all like the local, you know, governments or whatever and party officials were going, you know, no, there's nothing to worry about. It's all under control. Don't worry. Don't worry, Xi. We've got this covered, you know. So I think China's both the government lying to some degree and also local officials trying to cover it up, you know, kiss ass and all this, spin it. You know, but there's a lot of similarities when you watch disasters that happen, not just in communist countries, but, you know, disasters where the people try and cover it up because they don't want to get in trouble. And then, you know, the higher-ups want to put a propaganda spin on it. There were loads like that, Lewis, yeah. Yeah, see, that's weird, Cozy, because, like, in the UK as well, magazines, you can literally... Even if they put a mag limit on certain guns, you can still buy, you know, like antique magazines or whatever. You know, like from whatever rifle you want, that's perfectly legal. Because in all the Deac guns I've got, the magazines are still fully functional. I think they changed the rule on that now. But yeah, just to show you, I know YouTube gets funny about firearms on live streams now, so I won't get a full firearm. But if I get my M1 carbine mag out, the mag on my M1 carbine, you know, is perfectly functional still. So they literally have done nothing with the mag. So yeah, I think, you know, that's another similar thing that's a bit weird, you know, when there's all these restrictions. But then there's like, again, like if there was a mag limit, but antique magazines are still whatever, you know, some as you wanted. But I think with the DEAC laws now, haven't they done something like the mags have to be welded in or something bollocks with the new DEAC rules? That said, I probably wouldn't bother buying any more DEACs now just because the price of them for what you get is a bit stupid. I'd rather just buy more antique guns, if anything interesting turns up at a sensible price, like the Rubins, because they're a fully working firearm. It's just not classed as a gun by law. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I don't understand mag limits, Daniel. Because, you know, I know I can understand it from a perspective of somebody might have to reload more often if they're on a shooting spree or whatever the argument be made for it. But from what I understand, if you have mags of really high capacity anyway, they tend to not be all that reliable. It seems like 20 to 30 rounds is generally pretty standard because they feed well. That's a shame, TS. I hope they rest in peace. You know, I'm sorry about that. But I definitely believe a virus is real. I just think some of the governments haven't responded very well to it. But, you know, sadly, some people completely deny it's happening, and you're a sheep if you get tested, even if you've been in contact with somebody who's had it, you know. Well, yeah, generally AK-47. Thank you as well. The DEAC gun laws have changed over time, but basically, in the first degree of guns being deactivated, I believe all they basically did was remove or file down the firing pin and normally put a cut in the barrel or maybe a bit of a weld. So, you know, everything in the gun was pretty much there except, you know, all the action worked, except there was no firing pin in it, essentially, or a neutered firing pin, which would probably be very easy to replace. And there was, you know, a cut and a weld done to the barrel. They later made those more, you know, the law later then made them more deactivated, because I think with some guns, people could essentially saw them off, you know, and essentially have a sawn off thing with and then just replace the firing pin. So what they later did is a lot more stuff of, you know, bits of the action being welded and everything. So I think all my DEACs fall under that category of the firing pin is removed, there is a cut and a weld to the barrel, and there is, you know, some stuff either with the action removed or, you know, bits closed up and welded on them. So on some of them the bolts move, some they don't, but, you know, some they don't connect to anything inside. Now I think the laws are even stricter, as in, because with my DEAC guns, I couldn't sell them unless I paid to get them re-deactivated, you know, so essentially somebody blowtorches them, so fuck, you know, ever selling them. And that costs quite a lot as well. But basically, I think on the new thing, like, even more stuff has to be welded. I think maybe even the mags can't be removed. Oh, did the mods not see Peter? But I'll read his comment out just because I think he's proved he's very special. Peter Goodfine, he says, if it wasn't for the virus, if it wasn't for the fake virus, and he spelled virus wrong, nobody would watch you at all. Oh, well, people were watching me before Corona was a thing, but, you know, I clearly think you are probably not all there mentally. Oh, he made another message. Blow me or I'm out. Yes, blow me. I don't think people do want to blow you, in all honesty. You know, unless it's like Idiocracy, where the dumbest people have children. But you know, well done. People like you are the reason everything is really fucked, because you're the ones that stop people who are slightly skeptical of government measures having a decent conversation with other people about it, and you're continuing the financial harm because you decide not to wear masks to go out and have parties with everybody. Yeah, they were originally for anti-aircraft, weren't they, against biplanes in World War One? I think that was why the 50 BMG was designed, to give more range and, like, you know, damage if it hit aircrafts like biplanes. I'm glad you like the videos, Cozy. But yeah, it's like the thing, I just find gas masks and a lot of old Cold War stuff interesting. You know, obviously, like I said, with gas masks, if you want to watch somebody who really, really knows this stuff about certain masks, like the Forgotten Weapons of Gas Mask channel, you want to watch Duke Nougat 3D. But my videos are just more like, here's a mask that's I've got that's surplus, it's cool, let's go over some basic information, and I'll tell you if I think it's good or not. What does the new AA battery do? Compared to an old AA battery, does it last longer? Is it higher voltage? I think Spanish flu was worse than COVID, and I think it was because the thing with Spanish flu was it was really deadly for people in like their 20s and 30s. The reason being that the better your immune system was, the worse you fared with it, because there was an autoimmune response from it. I think it would depend, wouldn't it, on the type of head on it and everything, Lewis. But yeah, I imagine it would. If one went straight through somebody, even if it didn't expand much, it's still going to leave a pretty nasty hole. I've seen GP5s labelled as World War II gas. I think some people, if they're selling a mask, just don't know much about masks. Oh, so when you say AA, you mean anti-aircraft. Sorry, when you said an AA battery, I thought you meant, you know, a AA battery. You know, like how they're AAAs in here. But you meant anti-aircraft battery, as in, you know, like a load of the guns. I think I might have seen a thumbnail for that. Is it like a giant, weird-looking ion cannon style thing? You know. But yeah, so AA is an anti-aircraft. Got you. that's why I was confused. I was like, what? I've been on an hour and 16 minutes. The Soviet one. Let's see if I can still spot one. I think about $30 for the print to be mailed straight from, I think it was Latvia or Estonia. Let me have a look. If any sellers still have them. Soviet poster. Put civil defense on. It is part of the Soviet civil defense series. Right, here's full set of 84 posters that, from someone in the States. That would be $100, but you get a hell of a lot of posters. If I was local to this person, so the postage wasn't expensive, I'd be tempted to buy those. It's like this sort of series of things. You know, they're the things they put in the fallout shelters, kind of as basic survival skills for CBRN situations. So there's lots of ones with people gas masks. Looks like firefighting and decontamination on some of them. Probably identifying different shells and what they do to you. There's the one about the guy putting up signs and writing on the wall about radiation levels. It's quite interesting. You can see on that one, it's one of those on the picture, the DP3. So obviously he looks like he's writing 28. So I think he's saying it's 28 Rontgen per hour in this area. He's writing on the wall. I can't speak Russian, but you can kind of understand what's going on with those posters because they're put very simply in terms of picture diagrams. I've done a video on it, Rob. It might not be live yet, but let me the PMK, yeah. That is the Briz 4303, which apparently is basically a PMK2 in 40mm NATO. I definitely would want to do that, Cozy. But yeah, some of my friends one year went to Vegas and did that, as well as, you know, like whorehouses and gambling. You know, they went there for a bit of a debauchery holiday, but I'd have definitely done that. But sadly, I didn't go with them. But you know, it did sound fun. But yeah, if I went to the States and a few other places where you can do that, I would definitely like to, you know, shoot some full autos at a range. Right, cheers, Daniel. See ya. Yeah, I'll be off and about now. But yeah, it's been a good stream today. We only had one or two weirdos come on, which surprised me. I thought this stream was going to be full of people going, no, you are slave of the Illuminati. You know, the 5G towers have warped your mind. just for the people who keep asking personal questions, we don't really go over it anymore, just simply because, as I said, there's lots of people with not very good intentions that try and get as much personal information out of you to try and imitate you, dox you, all that sort of stuff. So when people say, like, where do you work now, I just don't tell them any info to do with it, basically. Just because, all those sort of things. I don't want, co-workers getting harassed by people, employers getting harassed by people, But yeah, the video will be out on it in a few days, Rob. So you'll probably find the video interesting. Yeah, I imagine it hurts the wallet, but it's one of those experiences you got to do, isn't it? If you're there, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. I've got an airsoft rifle right there, but I haven't done airsoft in ages. Because my local airsoft, I'll answer this and I'll go off, but I've answered this before. But basically, my local airsoft site normally only has games on Sundays, like once a month on a Sunday. They can be cancelled if the weather's really bad that day, and this is the UK, so sometimes it is really, really rainy and windy, or whatever. So the game gets cancelled for that Sunday. Because I often work Sundays, I'd have to know if I'd have that Sunday off or if I'd need to book that Sunday off as holiday. So as much as I'd like to probably do airsoft more, there's a lot of reasons it's just kind of really inconvenient for me. I'm not too far from the Cotswolds. I'll have to see whereabouts that is in the Cotswolds, though, because Rob's Motos, because the problem is with the Cotswolds is it's quite a big area, isn't it? It's not just like Burford area, the Cotswolds. It is, quite a big chunk of the area, but thanks for the recommendation, Cozy. I won't be going to the US anytime soon, unfortunately. One, because of all the corona shit, and I'm saving up for a bunker at the moment, so I kind of want to delay any expensive holidays, because the bunker fund is coming first at the moment, so I can move out ASAP, as soon as I've got the money together. Yeah, that's it. Axton, it's not the real me. You see, they cloned me, and I don't know why they cloned me, but I'm the clone at the moment. That's when they took my DNA. Right, it won't be a build, it will be a restoration, Cozy, because in the UK we've got lots of old Cold War small ROC bunkers, Royal Observer Corps bunkers, that they built en masse, and then basically decommissioned when the Cold War is over. So it's basically just finding one for in the regular price range that, isn't so fucked you can't repair it, and all those sort of factors. But I definitely do videos of the restoration of it because people find it interesting. Doppelganger and stuff, 93. Yeah, it'd be Doppelganger and stuff, wouldn't it, if it's German? Doppelganger and stuff, 93. Yeah, Daniel. So it wasn't the recent test where I got replaced, was it? It was before then. Sadly, Rob's Motos. Oh, yeah, I suppose you are in the UK. You probably could send me the ACH. I mean, the best way of getting hold of me is on Discord. But again, that's for donators only. But I appreciate it. But I do have like a Pascut style helmet, and I've got that one, So I'm not really desperate for an ACH, as cool as it would be. But I do thank you anyway. But anyway, I'll be off because I keep saying I'll be off and then keep going on later and later. Doppelganger and Zug 93. Okay, I suppose Zug Fluke, because that Flugzug is flying thing, isn't it? Flugzug. So yeah, it would be Zug. Yeah, good thing I didn't think of that. So anyway. Oh, so the conspiracy is starting now. Do you think I can blame my weight gain on being a clone? Because where I put on weight from eating too much during lockdown and drinking too much, do you think I can put that down to being a clone? So I didn't really gain weight. That's my excuse. The COVID test made me fat. Anyway, see you all. Have a good evening. This has actually been a really good stream because I thought, it might have been a bit of a shit show. But it's been really good. Don't forget to like the stream on the way out if you haven't liked it, because it helps YouTube share the videos more. Right, see you all. Goodbye.